Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I'm Starlosa, and let's take a look at Orisa versus Reinhardt, or more specifically, Reinhardt and Orisa working together, because it's not really about these guys playing against each other. I mean, in fact, you could probably say if you had like a Reinhardt versus an Orisa, Orisa's probably got the advantage. She's got range damage, her shift ability, Fortify, well, when she uses that and Reinhardt charges into it, well, Reinhardt just falls over as if he's charged into a wall and actually stuns himself and takes damage, and then Orisa just kills him. So she, like in a 1v1 scenario, yeah. But we're not interested in that. What we're interested in this video is how they're going to work together in a team once she's launched, right? Now, obviously, she probably will have some balance changes done to her, but we'll pretty much get her in the state that she's in kind of right now, with obviously with tweaks. They're not going to change her abilities. They're not going to do any of that. Where do I think she is the strongest? I've got to be honest, right? 2 CP maps or anywhere where there's a choke, even on payload maps or the hybrid maps, she's going to be really strong. But she's not a solo tank. She isn't a replacement for Reinhardt either. But when you use them both together, this is what we're going to see in this video, and this is absolutely ridiculous. This is definitely going to be something we will see. So what we're doing here is we're on Hanamura, the ideal map to test this out on. I'm playing Reinhardt, I'm not playing Orisa, because I wanted to see how this would work together. Like, how are we going to actually synergize together here? And if you watch, it's very simple, right? I'm just going to use my barrier to block. I need to recharge. Orisa drops her barrier down. I just swing wildly in it, and it's like, oh, that's cool. My barrier's recharged, and then I go and fill the choke. This, to me, seems like a stupidly powerful way of defending the choke point like this. And I think this would probably work on most 2 CP maps. So maybe the first point on Anubis, not going to be as strong. And maybe not as strong on Volskaya is on Hanamura, because Hanamura has a very horrific choke. But this just shows you how powerful this is. And like if you apply this to payload maps as well, once the payload is rolling, typically Reinhardt would stand on the payload. Like, I've played loads of Reinhardt and know the positioning. But with an Orisa with you, it's like double protection. It is insane. Because what you've got to remember with Orisa, yes, her barrier is 900 HP. Yes, it's static, so she can't move it like Reinhardt, right? So there are some pretty major differences, really. But Orisa can almost have another barrier ready to go as soon as that one is destroyed. So really, she's got like an 1800 point barrier. Well, Reinhardt's only got a 2000 point barrier. So you put those together, I mean, you've got a 3800 point barrier. That is insane. Like, this isn't available all the time, obviously, because if they burn down Orisa's barrier really quick and she's still got the cooldown, you know, because it's a 12-second cooldown on that ability, then, you know, she's not going to be able to drop it right down. But look what is happening in this clip here. They are finding it very difficult to push through. Now, if they were taking like a dive comp or something like that, then sure, they could just dive through and then it'd be a whole different ball game. But with this kind of team composition against us, and with this fairly, I'd say fairly meta, although I don't really like using that term, but fairly meta team comp we've got, because we do have 2 supports. That, well, I think we've got the Ana, and we've got the Torbjorn, haven't we? Yeah, and the Mercy. So we've got the 2 supports there, which is obviously pretty strong. The Supercharger from Orisa, actually, this boosts you by 50% damage, and it stacks with Ana's ultimate, but it doesn't stack with Mercy's damage boost, which is kind of weird. Again, the figures for that may change by the time she comes live. That's not the point of this video. We're not discussing the finer details of balance. What we're trying to do is show how she would work in an actual team. Because this, to me, it's almost revolutionary. Like, it's a totally different way of playing. I mean, you can see what's going on here. I've left the front. I've left the front line because I'm like, well, whatever. Orisa's there. She can hold the front for a bit. I can go around the back, maybe have a look at this Genji. Genji's jumping all over the place. It's such a different way of playing, like. Now, I did kind of touch on this in the other video I made on the King's Row video. If you guys have watched that, my previous video on Orisa, where I was showing how she is really fun to play. People were laughing and saying, oh, maybe it's barrier watch. And yeah, it kind of is in a way, right? With Orisa, with Reinhardt, that is some insane barrier love. And it kind of makes Winston, poor Winston, well, he's kind of falling behind, right, with his barrier love. And it's a bit of a shame for old Winston, but, you know, Winston's got the mobility. Winston makes up for that in other kind of ways. That's not what Winston's for. He's not a frontline tank. That is definitely what Orisa is for, but Orisa is a bit different. Reinhardt is still Reinhardt. Orisa does not replace him. Reinhardt has this massive 2000 HP barrier he can walk around with. He can move around with. The team can rely on that being there to protect them. Orisa is a little bit different. Once it's deployed, that's it, right? It's down, you've got to work around that barrier. This means the enemy team, well, they can also work around the barrier, can't they? If they're clever and they just go straight through it, or do things to sort of negate the barrier, then it can work. Orisa, like I said, we can't really discuss about her being OP right now, because It's pointless. She's literally just come out. Discussions for OP-ness, OP-ness, that sounds wrong, doesn't it? About her being OP and whatnot are like, you know, whatever. We can't do that right now. We've got to do that in the future. But I thought this would be a super interesting video to show you how she would work in this kind of environment. I'm also going to show you her on the attack on this map, and it's kind of a different kettle of fish when we get to that. But as you can see right here, the choke, the defense in the choke is really strong, like really strong. You can see Orisa is waiting for me to back off. Very clever Orisa play. Just wait for me to back off. Wait for me to recharge my barrier. She drops her barrier down. This sort of game of interchangeable barriers is... It's really nice to do. It's nice to work with another tank that has a similar ability. And you know what, Sombra, I said this before and I'm going to say it again. Against heavy, like absolutely heavy barrier play, Sombra is going to be crucial. Orisa, that was weird as well. I got hit by the graviton pulse thingy. She pulled me back as I charged. Sombra is going to come into this meta, I think, if it starts developing like this. Reinhardt is... I don't think he's going to go anywhere, to be fair, because he's Reinhardt. There still isn't a hero like Reinhardt that offers what he offers. Orisa offers some of it, but she's got some other benefits as well, which, you know, like the way she synergizes with basically everybody is really strong because of her ultimate is fantastic. Like, it buffs everybody. It is ridiculous. The way that we've got, like, she is just a really interesting hero. I'm still amazed that they've decided to take abilities off other heroes and kind of give her different versions of them in a way, like watered down versions. It's ridiculous. I mean, if we watch this play of the game here, I mean, the reason I've left this in is because it's just shows you how powerful she is. She has got 100% damage boost right now. She's got supercharger on her, and she's got nano boost. That is ridiculous. I don't know whether that'll go live. That seems a bit ludicrous. Anyway, let's move on to the offensive. So we're on the attack here, and I'm playing Orisa as the only tank. And I'm trying to attack into the second point on Hanamura. And you'll notice how difficult this is. If I was Reinhardt, I'd be more effective. Like, as a solo tank, Reinhardt, I still think, is the way to go. If you, like, well, you always need a tank, right? Solo tank's probably not the greatest idea. But even with Orisa on your team as a solo tank, it kind of feels like you're lost. Like, you need to be with the team. The team needs to be supporting you heavily, especially for this kind of attack, because it's not as simple, you see, it's just sitting on a payload now or sitting in a choke, which is where I think she is fantastically powerful. Now, Blizzard wanted her to be an anchor tank, right? That was the Anchor was the internal development name, or so we believe, if the leaks were to be kind of believed, which I guess they are, because Jeff did reference the fact that they class Reinhardt as an anchor tank. Thing with Reinhardt is he's a mobile anchor tank. Orisa isn't. Like, she's a static anchor tank, which is a completely different thing altogether. Like, completely different. What it means is that in a choke on the defense, she is very powerful. It means when a payload is moving and she's putting barriers on the payload, she is very powerful. It also means that, yeah, she's pretty good in certain 1v1 situations and all of that. What it means that she's not so great at is doing what I'm trying to do right now. Look at me. I'm, like, moving forward. Yeah, I can drop a barrier. Yeah, I can fortify myself. I can make myself sturdier. I can not die as quick. But what I'm not doing is protecting my team, really. If my barrier placement's wrong, I'm going to suffer. If I'm Reinhardt, yeah, you can have bad barrier placement, but you can still recover with that because you can just change the position instantly. You can't do that with Orisa. That's why she's got a major problem with this type of attack. You know, like, it's going to be very difficult to attack. I'm blocking this guy here because he kept spamming me with invites, because this was taken from the live stream, this footage, but it's such good footage which shows, like, sort of the way she's going to develop into the game. I just had to go over this and cover it again. So yeah, you can see on the attack she's not as great, right? If I was Reinhardt, it'd be more effective. If I had a Reinhardt with me, it'd be more effective. Now, obviously, this is PTR, so people are, like, the team comps are not ideal. I'd say the team comp in the previous clip on defense was a fairly decent defensive team comp and showed you how effective she is, especially when paired up with a Reinhardt as choke defense. This is a bit different. This is where you've got to be a bit more clever. Like, I'm trying to get in there. I'm going to put the pressure on. I'm going to move forward. I've still got my left shift available, which is Fortify, which means I'm going to take 50% less damage. This, though, is a really nice position for Supercharger. Look at that. And you'll notice me protect the Supercharger here. So once we get into the point, once we've got the attack going, the damage buff here is 50% for everybody. And I can easily protect that with my barrier. That is insane. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Orisa, and she is playable right now on the PC PTR. You can go and download the client and check that out. All you need to do is change your region in the launcher. She is fantastic to play. I don't want to comment just yet on if she's OP or underpowered or whatever. But it's very much the honeymoon phase, right? We're enjoying it. All right, guys, I'm Stylosa. This is Unit Lost. You can follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming, and I will catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.